In this video, you will see how to crop plan views to create detailed drawings. And you'll see how to create and assign scope boxes to crop multiple views. I have the exercise file crop views open, and we're looking at the level 1 floor plan view for an apartment block. We need to create a plan view showing each of the individual apartments. And to do this, we'll go to the View ribbon tab, and from the Create panel, we'll choose the Duplicate View drop-down, and then pick Duplicate with Detailing. And that will now give us a copy of the view, which will also keep the room tags as they are part of the detailing. Looking at the project browser, we can see we have the copied view here, so let's right click over it, and we'll choose Rename, and then we'll rename this to be Apartment 1. So Apartment 1 will be the apartment at the top of the plan just here. And we'll need to crop this view to show just this apartment. So going down to the view control bar here, we can see we have the toggle to crop the view. So I'll click on this. And now looking at the properties palette, we can also see we have the crop view parameter here, and that has now been enabled. Beneath this, I'll select the crop region visible. And now on the view control bar, we can see that we have that toggle enabled as well. And in the view, we can now see the edge of the crop region, so let's zoom out a little bit so we can see it all. And with it selected, we can see we now have these drag controls to adjust its size. So as we drag this up over the model, we can see the area outside of the crop region is no longer visible. And we can just use the other drag controls here to pull this in closer to the apartment that we need. So it's getting closer, let's pull it in a little bit further so it crops off more of the model here. And now we've done this, we can see that the room tags remain visible outside of the crop region. So going back to the properties panel here, we can see we have an option here for annotation crop. And we'll select this, and straight away we can see that 2 of those tags have disappeared. And if I pick onto the crop region now, we can see we have an extra boundary, which is the extent of the annotation crop. It means that any annotation that's outside of this will also be hidden. So to show this, if I drag this a little bit bigger at the bottom here and on the side, we can see those tags come back. And now I'll drag it in much closer, and now we can see all of those tags have been hidden. And now looking at the view of the apartment, we can see it's quite vertical in its orientation, and it would fit on a drawing sheet better if it was horizontal. So to do this, we'll rotate the crop region. So first, we'll pick the crop region, and then from the Modify Floor Plan ribbon, we'll choose the Rotate tool. And now we can see we have that center of rotation in the center of the crop region here, so we'll click to start rotating. And I'll turn this clockwise and then enter 90 degrees. And then once we enter that, we can see that actually the view rotates anti-clockwise by 90 degrees. And the crop region stays in its same orientation. So now that we have that view rotated, we need to adjust the crop region to suit the apartment again. So let's use the drag controls here to crop this closer. I'll adjust the annotation crop once more just to turn off this room tag that's outside the view. Now looking at the view here, we can see that it also includes some of the stairs and also the elevator. And we'd like these to be cropped out of the view as well, so it just shows the apartment. So to do this, I'll pick on the crop region. And now from the Modify Floor Plan ribbon here, we'll click to edit the crop. This now takes us into the Edit Profile mode for the crop region. And we can see the boundary lines of the crop here. And on the ribbon we have the Draw tools. So I'll click Pick Lines. And now we can pick on the outside edges of the walls around the boundary of the apartment to create new boundary lines for the crop region. And once we have all of those picked, we'll go to the Modify ribbon tab here and choose Trim Extend to Corner. And now we can just create the enclosed boundary that we need with the new lines and also the existing crop lines. And that will leave us with one line at the end here which we need to delete. So I'll pick it, and then from the Modify ribbon here we'll click the Delete tool. And then that finishes creating that crop boundary that we need around the apartment. So I'll click Finish Edit Mode. And now we can see that view is cropped tightly around the shape of the apartment. So there's a little area here at the bottom, so we can still use the drag controls to drag it a little bit closer and crop out everything. And now we can still see the crop region, so let's go to the Properties palette here and we'll deselect the Crop Region Visible option so that it's no longer visible in the view. And then finally we have a section marker, so I'll select this, and then from the right click menu here we'll choose Hide in View category for that to be hidden in this particular view. And that now finishes creating our Apartment 1 plan view. I'll swap back to the Level 1 view here. And zooming into the stairs here, we'd also like to make a detailed drawing around the stairs and the elevator. And to do that, this time we will use a scope box. So we'll go to the View ribbon tab, and from the Create panel, we'll click the Scope Box tool. And now we need to draw out a rectangular shape here, so we'll click at the top left, just outside of the stairs and the elevator. And then we'll go to the opposite corner and click again to set the size of the scope box. Now looking in the Properties palette, we can see that it has a name of Scope Box 1, so let's rename that to be Stairs. Now we'll duplicate the view once more, so this time from the project browser we'll right click over the Level 1 view, and from the Duplicate View menu here we'll choose Duplicate so that we have just the model and we don't actually have the room tags this time. In the project browser we'll right click again and choose Rename, and we'll rename this to be Level 1 Stairs. Now that we have that view created, we'll go to the Properties palette, and from the Extents panel here we can see we have the parameter for Scope Box, and it's currently set to None, so we'll click on here and then we can choose the Stairs Scope Box that we've just created. And when we apply this, we can see that that view is cropped to the extent of the scope box. Looking at the Properties palette, we can see the crop view is enabled, but it's greyed out as the scope box is controlling it. The crop region visible is also switched on, so we'll deselect this, and we can see now that we have just that area of the plan view. We want to repeat this for the garage level as well, so from the project browser we'll open up the garage floor plan. And now we'll duplicate this again, so we'll right click over the garage view in the project browser and we'll choose Duplicate to create a copy of that view. And again we'll right click and choose Rename, and we'll rename this Garage Stairs. And now we've created the view, we'll go to the Properties palette. From the Extents panel here, on the Scope Box parameter, we'll choose the Stairs Scope Box once more. And once that's applied, we can see that that also gets cropped to the same area of the scope box that we was using on Level 1. I'll just select the section marker here, and again from the right click menu we'll choose Hide in View category to hide that. And then we can see that we have the same area cropped in the Level 1 stairs as we have in the garage stairs. We can also use the scope box for other views, so I'll open the Section 1 section view here. And this section goes through the entire building. Looking closer at the stairs, we can see the scope box, the green dashed lines here. And if I select it, because it was created at Level 1, it finishes there, so we'll just drag it down a little bit further to include the garage area. And we'll also reduce the height of it as well. Now I'll deselect it and we'll go to the Properties palette, and again in the Extents panel here we can select the Stairs scope box, and we can see that that section view is also cropped to the extents of that same scope box. We can also use this scope box in 3D views, so we'll go to the View ribbon tab, and on the Create panel here we'll click to open the default 3D view. And zooming in a little closer, we can see the scope box in the 3D view here. So the dash wireframe object here is that scope box. So in the Properties palette we also have the scope box parameter here, so we'll choose the Stairs scope box, and we can see now that the 3D section box for this view is now set to be the same size as the scope box. And with the scope box it remains live within the model, so if we swap back to the Level 1 plan view we can see the scope box here, and if I select it I can use these drag controls here to drag it in a little bit and change its size. So we'll drag it into the stairs. Now if I go back to the garage stairs view, we can see straight away that that view is also resized, as has the 3D view, which is now cutting through the wall here and showing us a section through the stairs. So now that we have those views created, that completes creating the cropped views and assigning the scope boxes.